Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to
Hello,
have you here with
Sarah.
us in London. Huge congratulations on the film. I guess it's quite a bold decision to tell this story from within the confines of a newsroom, but it's kept on a knife edge in terms of the tension completely throughout. When you first read the script, were you at all sceptical, or did it seem like quite a tantalising challenge?
All I knew was that he was very sincere about what he was doing and that he had learned all about it. And I could tell that he was a shooter. He operates sometimes. The script was very, very lean and well organized and a little bit difficult to read because of some of the technical stuff in it. But, every film is taking a chance on some level, but if someone's intentions are good, which his were, his reason for telling the story seemed honest.
You couldn't tell that it would be a riveting
No.
film in any way, but you could tell it was all accurate and authentic. Had a sense of authenticity about it because he wasn't trying to, as a screenwriter, he wasn't trying to entertain you. You could tell he was being very faithful to something, because there wasn't any frills in there.
I mean, I even imagined when I first read it, I thought, right, there's going to be a lot of documentary footage in this.
Right.
I mean, way more than what ended up being in it. And so I thought, well, that will relieve me of having to be interesting in this very small room with a bunch of fancy acting, which nobody really wants to watch, and which we didn't have to do.
Yeah.
I think part of what makes it really compelling is, we're sort of following these reporters, minute by minute, beat by beat, and also the level of detail and all the technology that's being used, which of course back then was cutting edge, but now is totally retro. So what was it like moving around these sets? Were there any really challenging moments?
I think the crucial bit is they weren't reporters, that we're sports people. So we're actually out of our element, know how to shoot it, but don't really know how to report it. You know what I mean? We should be pointing it at a sport, not at a live event. So there was all hands on deck, let's do what we know how to do. But the actual nuance of it, they didn't really know what they were
That's right.
with,
That's right. Yeah. I think it's clear to me that they are the ones that should have covered it and not news halfway around the world, because proximity is meaningful in terms of getting the truth out. But yeah, they were completely out of their depth in terms of what they were doing, using a new piece of technology in a way it had never been used before and not understanding its consequences. And, it's interesting. There's no putting the cat back in the bag in terms of technology now, or the genie back in the bottle, or whatever you want to say. But it's helpful just to take a step back and go, oh, right, all of these questions are the same questions. We can really only self-moderate now. You can't rely on the internet to, put something on there that is okay for everyone to watch or tells the truth. Really, all of these questions have become personal ones that we need to ask ourselves about how we take in news, how we get at the truth, what we can tolerate in terms of imagery and still get at the truth,
But in terms of what you were saying about operating in the studio, the challenges of it, it was a kind of working room. Tim sort of insisted on, as much as possible, everything being practical. So the screens worked, the buttons worked.
And sometimes it made no sense. I mean, to me, as a person who's been done a lot of movies, I'd be like, all these monitors should just be green. Because then you can fill them in later and it will match. Like when you cut back to me from a different take, it'll be the same image.
Yeah.
But if you watch the film closely, it is not. And that doesn't take people out. And for him, it was important.
That it was real.
Yeah.
And some of the tension as well obviously comes out of the conflict between each of the characters, and each of your characters having to make these split-second decisions. When you put yourself in their shoes, did it make you reflect on how reporters even today will be making those decisions? Were there any that you found it hard to understand or hard to rationalize?
I mean, I find it hard to rationalize the live camera, personally. But, pointing a live camera at a potentially violent thing, and the potential for that violence is what's making 900 million people tune in, not just empathy, I would argue. And so I think that's the old double-edged sword of live coverage there.
Marvin, things are just occurring to Marvin that he thinks he should say. It doesn't mean that they're not occurring to Rune and John, you know, I think what it is once you've made the decision you're going to shoot it, the kind of decision's made, right? Like you just keep doing your job. Then the big decision's been made. Now we shoot it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happens. So, but Marvin's saying, well, what should we do? Do we have an ethical responsibility? That's still up for debate now, isn't it? And yeah, I related to that. I mean, I found out in the course of actually after we finished making this, I spoke to a news reporter, a real one, you know, and he's sort of quite a famous news producer for CBS actually in America, and he told me that the live delay that is on all live coverage in America came about as a result of the wardrobe malfunction at the Super Bowl. And
that's what got them going.
That's what got them going. I mean, doesn't that say all you need to know? That it was Janet Jackson's nipple.
Yeah.
That finally tipped.
Look, you know,
balance.
like graphic imagery has certainly had a positive effect here and there in the world. Like, there's actually a film at Sundance right now about, you know, the napalm girl from Vietnam, and I guess apparently a different person took the photograph than we historically have said.
I saw a little headline on that the other day. Didn't read the article.
Yeah, so the person who took that photograph
didn't take it.
Apparently didn't. And that person won a Pulitzer, and then this other person who did take it somehow didn't mention it for a very long time. But anyway, just in terms of regardless of who took it, that image had a huge effect.
Yeah.
The
monk.
Yeah, police brutality. There's been all kinds of ways that like live violent imagery
Rodney King
has really had a positive effect in terms of changing our society. But of course, there are times when people just want to tune in to watch violence, you know.
Yeah, and you can't. Yeah, how do you separate how somebody receives the information? You can't.
Yeah, well, you can contextualize it for them and not just show it on a loop and say we're about to show something violent and all of that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a 12-year-old, so I don't even play the news in any way, shape, or form in my house, and never have.
No, I don't really.
I put the earbud in if I'm listening to even like National Public Radio. Daddy's getting bad news in his ear. You know.
Lots of interesting questions raised. I'm out of time, unfortunately, but thank you so much for sharing all that with me. And I can't wait for everyone else to see September 5th. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sarah.